Hello everyone and welcome for today's session. In last session we were discussing about privatization. So privatization means transfer of ownership from public sector to private sector. It also means the privatization leads to open up of an industry or sector which was previously reserved for government sector. That is all about privatization. Now today we will learn about the ways of privatization, how the government companies can be converted into a private company. In this, the first one way is sell to outsider. In this process, government company sell the shares of state enterprise. State enterprise means the government owned company. It can be a central government owned company or it can be a state government owned company. So in this process, the government company sell the stake, the amount of investment to the outsider person. Outsider means the person who is not related to company inside. So it's called as sell to outsider. It is also known, it is popularly called as disinvestment of shares. In investment, government purchase the shares of that company, while in disinvestment it is the opposite process and government sells their shares which was previously invested. This is a quite successful model, way of transferring, and very developed economy like UK etc. has also considered this as a good method. Sell to outsider is good because it generally lead to raise revenues and turn the firm in real ownership who has the shares. So those who have expertise, those who have ownership, they purchase the shares from government company and then manage the whole organization. But one of the disadvantage is this method is quite costly method and a very slow method, because for doing this government need to take various permission. Further, government need to also wait till the right buyer, to meet with the right buyer who is ready to purchase at a right price, at a price which government wants. So because of all these things, many of time government have to wait for a long period of time. An example is Air India. Since many years government want to sell Air India as it is doing loss, but again government is not finding the right buyer who want to purchase at a right price, and that is why government is unable to sell that organization. So all these things make it very difficult to sell the organization to outsider. Further, sometime domestic market inadequacy in capital market, or finding the person or financial institute who is lending this huge amount etc. are also some of the problem in sell to outsider. Now the second way is management or employee buyout. The name itself suggests that in this method the management and employees of the companies come forward and buy, purchase the large shares of organization and take over the organization. It is also called as sell to insider. The previous one was sell to outsider, wherein the organization, the shares are sell to the person who is outside the organization. Here it is also called as sell to insider. It means here the shares are not sold to any person who is outside, but sold to the management and employees. Generally, this route lead to a better cooperation from government, as already the insider person who are already working in the organization want to purchase the shares, and that is why government need not have to take big permissions and do not have to wait till the right buyer government get. So it is a quite faster as compared to the previous process. And so the insider have good access of information as compared to the outsider, and they can monitor the information what are the relevant to the company. So this method, because of this advantage, the method is quite favorable, as well as it is a fast as compared to the other method. But still the method has disadvantage that generally when government want to sell to insider, they charge very low price, as they are giving to the insider peoples, their own employees, etc., and this will ultimately lead to loss of revenue for government. And sometimes if the insider do not have the skills, then it also lead to failure of such privatization, and selling insider do not bring any new skill and capital in the organization. So privatization the main aim of privatization is that government firms are inefficient in management, and that is why they are making loss. So the aim is to make new management skill, new managerial skill to improve the performance, but sell to insider do not bring any kind of such skill, and it will ultimately lead to loss. The third method is equal access privatization. In this method, government generally prepare vouchers, and then the vouchers are given to those who want to buy at a minimum rate or at a free of cost. Then this voucher can be used to purchase shares of that organization. So such program is such kind of method provide the very speed and fairness in selling of organization. It is believed by government, but still this will not lead to generation of revenue, as government is selling the voucher at free of cost or at a minimum rate, and hence ultimately the government runs into loss. This method is not so popular in India. The next method is spontaneous privatization. In this spontaneous privatization, only the top management come forwards and acquire the outstanding, the majority shares of the organization and control the government firm. The second, it is different from sell to insider. In sell to insider, the shares are sold either to management and to employees. Management and employees both are involved in this process, management of all level. While in spontaneous privatization, only the top management, the front managers, they are the decision makers are only the buyer of the firm, while the employees do not have any kind of access. This route of privatization is quite easy, obstacle free, but again it will not lead to revenue generation for government, and this method has doubtful impact on corporate governance, as those who are already at a top position in government company only buying the organization, and it will lead to not a good governance practices. So generally small firms, government sell their small firms in this way. And the next one is strategic sell. In strategic sell disinvestment, government transfer the ownership and control of a private public sector company to private sector company. In this method, government do not sell 100% of their shares to private company, but a majority shares are sold to private person or private company, while minority shares are still kept by the government for a longer period of time. Because government still expecting that after transferring the organization to private company, it will again turn to profit, and government may earn some return in the form of dividend and increase in price, and that is why government keeping a small amount of shares in this organization also. But the process of strategic sell is quite sensitive in nature, and that is why it take too much long time, and sometime government do not able to meet their disinvestment target because it will ultimately lead to delay. So that is all about the ways of privatization. The next is the obstacle to privatization. The obstacles are the barriers which usually government face when they want to sell the private organization. Among this, the first one is generally government want to sell those organizations which are least profitable. Of course, no any person want to sell the profit organization. Similarly, government also do not want to sell the profit making organization as it leads to generate revenue for government, while the least profitable or loss making company is a kind of burden for organization, for government, and that is why government want to sell such organization. But it is very difficult to find such private company who want to buy such least profitable or loss making organization and at a price at which the government want to sell. Even sometime government may found a buyer who want to buy loss making company, but not at a price what government want to sell. They are having their own price which may not be agreed by government. So this will again lead to delay in privatization. The second is generally divestiture, that is disinvestment only, tend to certain political opposition from employees as well as some political parties. The employees are having fear that they will lose their job after the transfer of ownership, because in government organization they are having assurance that their job will not lose. So they will find that in private organization, if they will not perform better, then they will be and due to some cost cutting and liquidation, cost reduction, again ये सारी because of all these things government private company may kick out from the organization and they will lose the job, while certain political parties has their hidden objectives, and due to this they also oppose for the privatization. Sometimes even people, the local people are also not favoring privatization because they are having fear that the majority of national asset will be purchased, will be acquired by either foreigners or a few rich people or a particular cultural group people. So the asset will be concentrated in a hands of few people, and that is why they are also opposing for such privatization. And lastly, a relatively undeveloped capital market will lead to lack of finance for those who want to buy the organization. Generally, government organization is very large in terms of capital, and to purchase such a large capital intensive organization, the buyer also need huge amount of money. Generally, to buy, acquire or to merge with the government company, the buyer need to pay huge amount. This amount may be brought through the capital market. Still, Indian capital market is not considered as so much of developed market due to many problems, and this may lead to delay in raising of fund from market. Ultimately, it will lead to obstacle in privatization. So these are the three major obstacles that delays the privatization. So that is all about today's session. Have a nice day. Goodbye.